The last year has been a challenge for everybody in the country, for everyone in the state. On a personal level, I think, first of all, I think it's important that we just start by acknowledging that there are, as you and I are sitting here right now, Rob, there are over 700 Mainers who are being grieved, whose losses are being mourned across the state as a direct consequence of the pandemic. And that is saddening on so many levels. On a personal level, for myself, as you noted, it's been a challenge. There's no question about that. But I also think it's important to note that folks in my category have had it comparatively easy compared to so many Mainers. I'm relatively healthy and I have a stable job. That sets me apart from so many people in Maine who don't enjoy a higher level of health, let alone job stability. And the intersection of those two things, being at risk for COVID and then being at risk for losing their job, that has brought unspeakable, just unspeakable stress for folks across the state.
It was a year ago this week when things really started to change. And I think it's fair to say that most of us civilians had no idea what we'd be in for in the year to come. Did you have any sense of what you were in for in the year to come?
It's so easy to look back and say, oh yeah, I knew this was coming, but the answer is no. No one did. And anyone who tells you otherwise, I think is engaging in a little bit of revisionism. There were concerning signs, though. I started getting emails from colleagues of mine who I had worked with 19, 20 years ago in Southeast Asia, who are still working in Asia. I started getting emails from them saying, boy, this pneumonia that we're starting to see, it's significant, severe. It spreads more quickly. And I happened to be working in Southeast Asia during the time of another pandemic, SARS, in 2002 and 2003. Happens to be caused by another coronavirus. And so I saw a lot of the fingerprints that we've now come to know as the telltale signs of a pandemic all too well. I saw some of those, but never did I think that we would be in a position where we have witnessed over 700 deaths in Maine, over 500,000 across the United States. I think the scope, the toll, that's something that far exceeded even the most pessimistic projections a year ago.
I know that you do not like to shine the spotlight on yourself, and you want to keep the focus on the toll that this pandemic has inflicted on so many people. But let me just ask you what it's been like on a personal level to become a celebrity. And that's what's happened. I was just looking at the Friends of Dr. Shah Facebook page, 38,000 members. What's it been like for you to suddenly find yourself a public figure?
It's gratifying, Rob. Make no mistake. It's and I've said this, and I think it's important for folks in Maine to know how thankful that my family and I are for the support that we've received. That stands in contrast to what has happened to some of my counterparts in other states. So there's no question about it. It's gratifying. As you say, it's not about me, though. It never has been, and I certainly don't want to make it about me. I think really this is about Maine people. Let me tell you what I mean by that. The fact that a guy who has only lived in this state for not even 2 years, who's from away, who's got a funny name, and who's only been around during the midst of a crisis, could, during the course of a global pandemic, be seen as somebody who speaks honestly and plainly, and who's accrued a little bit of trust, who throws in the occasional corny dad joke. The fact that such a person could be viewed as someone to watch, someone to listen to, honestly, I think that tells you more about the character of Maine people than it does about me.
What did you think when you first heard about the bumper stickers? Keep calm and listen to Dr. Shah.
Well, again, it's gratifying. And I will say that that is the approach that I try to take toward communicating in a crisis. I try to speak plainly, I try to speak honestly, and I try to speak with credibility. If something is not going well, I want folks to hear about it from me first. I always try to balance the concerning signs on the horizon with the optimistic signs on the horizon. Usually in bad situations or in good situations, one of the things that I've sort of experienced personally as well as professionally is that things are never as bad or as good as they initially seem. And so I try to speak calmly. I try to put everything in perspective. And based on the feedback that I get from social media and elsewhere, an equal number of folks think I'm being overreactionary, and an equal number think I'm being underreactionary, which to me tells me maybe I've got that balance just about right.
What kind of response have you gotten when you just are trying to do everyday normal things that have nothing to do with your job? When you are at the gas station filling up your gas tank, or when you're taking the dog for a walk down the street, people must come up to you and make comments, ask you questions, right?
They do, and I welcome that. Again, it's gratifying, and I think it speaks to the fact that that Maine is fundamentally a community and a big state. And all of those things that you mentioned have happened. In fact, just on Sunday, my family and I went out to go pick up some seafood at a seafood at a fresh fish market in Bath that we've gone to since we moved to Maine. And I was walking in, and a gentleman was coming out and wanted to say hello, and it's gratifying, right? Again, when you compare that experience to the experience that counterparts of mine in other states have had, where they've been vilified, where their advice has gone unheeded, where they've received up to and including things like personal threats. The fact that in Maine that has not been the reception, again, I think that tells you all you need to know about Maine people. You know, Rob, I grew up in a small town in north central Wisconsin, a little town called Medford, Wisconsin. And one of the things that attracted me about Maine was how much it reminded me and my mom about our life back in Wisconsin. It was a series of small towns, a mixture of urban and rural areas, an area where everybody knew everybody. Your word was your bond. That's how I grew up. And so moving to Maine and having folks come up to me on the street when I'm out walking the dog who want to talk about what's going on in their world with COVID or ask me questions, that's how I grew up in Wisconsin. So it's not just gratifying, it's also strongly nostalgic for me.
When we get back to normal, what are you most looking forward to doing again that you haven't been able to do?
Okay, there is a really long list. So I'm going to try to organize it by category. One of the principal reasons that we moved to Maine were for the outdoor activities. Hiking and cycling in the summer, skiing primarily in the winter. We haven't really had the opportunity to do a lot of those things. We have, but it's just been me and my family, not in groups, not really able to go out and do all those things. So outdoor activities, that's one big category. Another reason we moved here was my wife and I really love to cook. And the corollary of liking to cook is liking to eat. And so we are really looking forward to having folks over for dinner, having parties, having barbecues, going out to eat, places like that, or in places that we know are world famous for their offerings. So that's another category. The third category is live music events. That's something that I've always enjoyed doing. Again, in an era of a global pandemic, a lot of that's been put on hold. I can't wait for those events to start back up. I don't know when they're going to start back up. That's the $64,000 question right now, but I'm really excited for them too.
Let me close with an invitation. We've been doing cooking segments on 207 since we started this program 18 years ago. We now hereby extend an official invitation to you to join us in the 207 kitchen, the prestigious 207 kitchen, and make a dish or two.
It would be an honor. I would love to do that. I would be happy to join as either the cook or as one of the tasters. You guys tell me, and I would be honored and delighted to be there.
We want you to cook. We're going to keep you working at this.
You got it. You got it. Count me in. Count me in.
All right. That is great. Thank you so much.